Okay, it's the review that no one asked for. So this is the Jorgensen 102 low angle block plane. So it was $14.98 plus tax. So spec wise, 3.5 inches long. Blade is 7/8 wide by an 1/8 inch thick. It's bedded at 20 degrees for fine cuts and end grain work. It's ductile steel 7-ounce body. And to be clear, I am not being paid for this, nor do I have any affiliation with the company. I wanted to try it out. So this is the 102, which I believe is supposed to be a copy of the Stanley 101, because it's 101 size, it's not the 102. The 102 is a little bit longer, and it has a wider blade. Let me get this out. Okay. Looks like there's some kind of oil on it just to keep it from rusting in the package. That off. It looks like the body's painted. It's an okay paint job, but for $15, I don't really know what you can expect. Important, please read the instructions in the booklet thoroughly. Blade is flat ground at 25 degrees and sits bevel up in the body at 20, making the cutting angle 45. The low angle makes it an excellent choice for end grain work. Okay, but no, because if it's bedded at 20 degrees and it sits at 25 and it's presenting at 45 total, that is the same as a standard plane. The blade comes ready to use, but honing a secondary bevel of 5 degrees will increase the performance. But if you raise the secondary bevel 5 degrees, now the blade is presenting at 50 degrees, which now takes it into the high angle category, which is great for smoothing ornery woods, but not so great for end grain work. It makes it a little harder to push. Well, it's saying it's ready to go, and I think that is the important part. The body is ductile iron. They've been fully stress relieved. That's good. 01 tool steel blade, hardened to Rockwell 60 through 64. Cap is zinc. Other parts are stainless steel. They're saying it's already been lapped, dead flat. Keep everything oiled. So here's what the sole looks like. Looks like there might be something right here. I'm interested to see if that's a hollow spot, but as long as it's flat here, here, and here, it'll be fine. Paint job. Looks like the paint was masked in the inside. See that? Lightly covered there. There's a high spot back there. You can feel it. I'm not sure if you can see it. But for $15, it's not terrible. All right, and the mouth opening on this is 3/30 seconds all the way across there. So when you put this on here and test this, the toe looks to be slanted a little bit. So it's actually, the toe looks to be lower than the rest of the bed, or the rest of the sole. So, all right, so instructions say it is ready to go out of the box. Let's see what happens. So the blade is not engaged. How much? Oh, nothing there. Oh, there we go. So, there we go. So this is Southern Yellow Pine. I haven't done anything to it. Yeah. pretty thick shaving. That's a thick shaving. Okay, let's try to get a thinner shaving now. I will say there's not a lot of, there's a little bit of backlash, but not necessarily as much as I thought there was going to be. I think this is as thin of a shaving that we're going to get. So, and that's straight out of the box. And the blade needs work. I can see a chip on it. I'm curious to see what they used as the thread. So it looks like they used the 1032 for the threads. So that feels good. That feels pretty solid. Same with the this tensioner. And actually, you know, it's got some. Oh, that's actually drilled or threaded a little crooked. All right, let's check out the blade here. Ooh, yeah, that's got burrs. The instructions say out of the box it's ready to go. No, it's not. It's not ready to go. So the plane has a 20-degree bed, and the blade has a 25-degree bevel, which is a total of 45 degrees. 45 degrees is not low angle. 45 degrees is standard pitch. So just for argument's sake, low angle block planes typically come in with a bed angle of 12 degrees and a blade that's honed at 25 degrees for a total. So that makes it have a cutting angle of 37 degrees. Standard pitch is considered 45 degrees. So 45 for the cutting angle. That's what you would typically find on say a Stanley number 4. If you pitch it up higher, those are considered, you know, high angle planes. You find them on smoothing planes, and those, if you get higher, you get like York pitch, which I think is 47.5. You can get up into the 50 and 55 degrees. Those work well for woods that tear out easily, very highly figured woods. You go lower than 45, that is, you know, considered low angle. Having a beveled down blade that's low angle can get kind of difficult. There are a few planes that have those, but the vast majority of those low angle planes will be bevel up. Now, low angle specifically refers to whatever the cutting angle is. I have this Veritas bevel up smoother, but the blade is at 50 degrees, so it's a high angle smoother even though it is bevel up. I have a block plane. This is a low angle block plane because the cutting angle is less than 45 degrees. It's somewhere around 37. If you're expecting a low angle plane, I think it's a bit of a misnomer on this, because it's a standard angle plane. Now you can make it low angle by changing the geometry on this blade. The other contemporary version you can get now is from Lee Nielsen. It's the same thing. 20 degrees bed, 25 degree bevel on the blade. If that's what they're copying, they copied it correctly. But whoever did the ad copy didn't, I'm going to say, wasn't entirely sure on what all the definitions for a hand plane. But rant over. Let's mess with this blade. I don't know if you can tell, but there's a nick. There's some nicks in the blade. There's one right there. And then there's one right there, and then on the back I can feel a burr. So on the back I can feel a burr in this corner. There's actually a burr all the way across there. Instructions say it's ready to go. I disagree with that assessment. Alright, so I'm set up over here at the Tormach. You certainly do not need a Tormach to do any of this. You can do it with oil stones or some diamond stones or just sandpaper. It's much better now. There's actually there's a little bit of hollow down the middle, which is fine, but I have a consistent scratch pattern all the way across here, which that's going to be the most important spot, and then also a little bit back here. So that should be good. Almost back behind it. It's actually sharpening pretty well. Now we definitely have a burr, which is good, so we're on to the next phase of sharpening. I do have a consistent line all the way across, and we are all right. We're past the nick. Now let's see if we can't get that burr off there. Get back to sharp. While we're at it, I'm gonna hit it on the green strop just to make sure I got that burr all the way off. Shaving isn't the best way to tell if something's sharp, but it works well for demonstration purposes. Now we're going to see how much this is out of a flat. I mean, look, it's a block plane. It doesn't need to be crazy flat. The important part is toe, mouth, heel. If those are all in the same plane, you're good. And so for this next part, I actually need to put it back together. Pull the blade back so it's not engaged, but I need to have tension on the blade so we can flatten it, because if I flatten it and then I put tension on the blade, there's a good chance that I could bow it out of flat. All right, so this is a piece of granite. This is 240 sandpaper. I'm going to just start here. See what it's like. Oh, it's not terrible. So my concern is I need to get a little more back here off. Toe's good. This probably needs a few more swipes. This looks like to be the low spot there. Not a big deal. Just keep on going. Make sure you're changing where you're on your paper frequently. Because if you just go over and over and over and over, it's going to stop cutting. And that doesn't help you any. Oh, we've almost got all of it. Should be able to get the rest of it. And that whole thing is done. So that's flat. I'm going to hit it with just some 400 just to make sure everything's, yeah, That's good. I'm not taking it any farther than that. So this is just, I think this is 600. Only reason I'm using this is because that's what I grabbed. And it's just on a stick here. And I'm going to just use it to break these corners. Just so it doesn't, I don't want those digging in. It feels pretty good. It feels pretty good. There we go, okay. And that's done, and a little bit of a diamond file. I can feel a burr on the mouth here. Double check it on that side. Yep. It's good too. Okay, that's good. Okay. Alright, well that shaving certainly is better compared to the first. Let's see if we can't get it any thinner. Gotten it thin enough to read through. And just for comparative sake, shaving right out of the box, about 4.5 thou. And that was a rough shaving. And this one, after some honing and some work, about 1.5 thou. And that is the hand plane surface. My rating of this plane. So the first category I think we need to consider is out of the box, is it ready to go? Based on what I've seen with just this one, if I had to give it a grade, I would give it a D. Technically, it did pull a shaving, but the plane was not ready to work. Based on the price point, it should be expected that some attention will need to be given to the tool before it's used. So the next category to consider is fit and finish. So on this particular one, the paint job is uneven. There's some thin spots in this area. Back here on the heel, there were some thick spots. There's also some subtle orange peel. On the bed itself, you can see and feel the milling marks. This tension wheel back here is crooked. The knurling on the adjustment knob is double tracked, and the crossbar right here is just a touch out of square. Now, with all of that said, I'm going to rate this as a C for this category. Even though these are visual flaws, none of it prevents the plane from being operational. All right, so maybe a curveball, but ad copy, I'm giving it an F because it's not a low angle plane. It's advertised as a low angle plane, but it's not a low angle plane. It's a bevel up plane. And just to kick a dead horse, it isn't a copy of the 102. It's a copy of the 101. So if you're going to copy the plane, go all the way in and copy the name as well. So performance. I've been using it a lot while working on this. I've been using this plane in the final steps in shaping the chamfers, shaping my bevels, doing spot smoothing, stuff like that. So performance, I'm going to give it a B. It's doing what I ask, but occasionally it needs some sweet talking to get it motivated. Where I've noticed it the most is in the adjustment mechanism. I find myself fiddling with that to get the perfect depth of cut. So now the big question is, should you buy it? So I am trying my hardest not to derail this video and veering off into the philosophy and ethics surrounding mass manufacturing. I will say this, if you are looking for a plane in this size, and you have the means, I would encourage you to look at the small makers or the premium manufacturers. It has been my experience that you get more value for your money buying tools from those places, especially when you're purchasing from small makers. Alternatively, the vintage Stanley 101s are relatively the same price as this plane. There are also other styles of antique planes that fall within the size range as well that may be an option worth considering, such as this infill Chariot plane. There are lots of these planes on the secondhand market, and buying antiques is a way to save some money, and it can also reduce the environmental impact if that is something that is of concern to you. Now, if budget and availability are your primary concerns, then this plane is one to look at. You could absolutely do great work with it. So should you buy it? Well, that's a maybe, in my opinion, and it all just depends on what your circumstances are. I have left links to where you can buy this plane as well as other alternatives in the description, and I am not associated with any of the makers or any of the companies. And additionally, I do not make any type of commission or other revenue if you click on any of the links. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.